All right, moving on to the last section, nutrition and nutrients. This is the part you hear about a lot commercially. Nutrition is the study of nutrients, how they're used by the body. You can actually go to school to be a nutritionist. Any nutrient is any type of chemical that the environment gives us and we need or use. So we need it for survival. Nutrients required in large amounts are macro. Macro means large. So macronutrients we need a lot of. Carbohydrates, fats, proteins. We need a lot of those in our overall diet. Their energy value is expressed in calories. And if you actually read your candy bar or whatever, it's a capital C, so it's kilocalories. I know in chemistry we've talked about that. Vitamins and minerals are required in smaller amounts. We don't need a plate full of vitamins. So micronutrients are going to be in smaller quantities. Essential nutrients does not mean they're more important. Essential nutrients are those that our body cannot make. So it is essential that we get them somewhere in our diet because our body cannot synthesize them at all. So going through these, carbohydrates, to me this is kind of a review from early biology. Carbohydrates, sugars, starches are compounds very important for energy, quick energy. They're ingested in a variety of forms: starch, grains, pasta, glycogen from meat. Some of your meat has a small amount of carbohydrate in it. Disaccharides, milk sugar, so when you drink milk there's sugar content in it. Cane sugar, which is basically the sugar in the bag that you buy. Beet sugar, molasses. And then monosaccharides, simple sugars, would be like honey and fruits. So people that go on what I would call an extreme diet, a lot of times they'll tell them to avoid fruit, which as a biology person I don't think that's the greatest idea, but fruits have a fair amount of sugar in them, and that's what makes them so sweet. During digestion, complex carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugars, which is mainly glucose, and then that glucose is going to be absorbed and used by your body. Back to biology, cellular respiration, it's that glucose that is needed for your cells. Cellulose is a very complex carbohydrate that you cannot digest, and that is important because it provides fiber. So that fiber helps to move food through your body, and there's tons of commercials about fiber and probiotics, different types of bacteria that help move food through your body. So cellulose is important because it's not digestible, and therefore it's going to help things move through your body. Simple sugars that are absorbed: fructose, galactose, and glucose. The liver actually converts fructose and galactose directly into glucose. So by the time your body is using sugar in its cells, most of it is glucose. Excess glucose is stored as glycogen, and that is also stored in the liver. And then that is converted into fat and stored as adipose tissue, which is basically your body fat. So what happens is my body needs sugar, but if I eat, I get a kick out of, I like hot tamales, and they are fat-free. Yay for me. However, when I eat the whole box of hot tamales, which is probably more calories than I need, excess sugar is then going to be stored, converted into fat, and that's how your body stores it. So even if something is fat-free, it does not mean that it will not end up being stored as fat on your body. Neurons need glucose to survive. If there's not enough glucose, then amino acids may be converted into glucose. So this is where the diet thing with no sugar works. If my body has not enough glucose, not enough sugar, it's going to start to break down other things in my body to make sugar. Cells also use carbohydrates to make ribose and deoxyribose, the sugars that are needed for DNA and RNA. Carbohydrates varies with what you do. If you're a couch potato, you do not need nearly as many carbohydrates if you're an extreme athlete. So the need for carbohydrates varies actually a huge amount depending on your daily activity. Estimated intake of 125 to 175 grams of carbohydrates is kind of the average that they put out there. I do not expect you to memorize that number. Lipids are fats. They're going to also supply energy. They're also help to build structures, important for cell membranes and things like that. The most common type is triglyceride. So when I see triglyceride, that is a type of lipid. It's a type of fat. Where we get our lipids, fats in meats, oils, phospholipids, cholesterol, a lot of the peanuts, and not all fat is bad fat. So it seems like people associate fats with something that's bad. And even that you might see on TV, you know, that this is a good type of fat or a better type. There's saturated fats, there's unsaturated fats. Triglycerides are found basically in plants or animals. And there's a difference between the two. Saturated fats come from animals. Unsaturated fats come from plants. Cholesterol itself only comes from saturated fats. So when we are talking about peanuts and almonds, nuts are very good for you. They have a fairly high concentration of fat, but it is these unsaturated fats that they contain. Lipid use, it's going to be broken down. Here again, the liver is so important for breaking things down. It cannot make essential fatty acids. So you have to have some fat in your diet because your body can't break down something else to make essential fats. Excessive, here again, if you eat too much fat, it's going to be stored as fat, same as your carbohydrates. And then the liver itself is going to regulate cholesterol. And when it regulates it, you can kind of measure that in your blood. A true cholesterol test you should have right away in the morning after fasting. Because if you eat a meal and then test your cholesterol, you know, an hour or two later, you will have high cholesterol because that's going to be put into your bloodstream after a meal. I'm going to skip over this. You can read through it if you want to. We're not going to get into the actual metabolism of fats. I promise this will not be on your test. I do want to point out letter G though. Lipoproteins. So I talked a little bit about this before. VLDL has a large amount of triglycerides in it. LDL, large amount of cholesterol. This is your bad lipids. This is your bad cholesterol. So if you have a blood panel that shows your test, you do not want a high number for your LDL. HDL, high density lipoproteins, have a large amount of protein instead of fats and triglycerides. So this would be like your good cholesterol reading. This would be the reading that you would want to be a higher number. So if you ever have blood work done, you will probably see those letters on there. Let's skip through that. Lipid requirements. Here again, a typical diet consists of a variety of foods. Typically you're going to get enough amount of fat in your diet without actually thinking about, I need to eat more of it. Recommendation is that it shouldn't exceed 30% of your daily total calories. And a lot of the nutritional labels will have percent fat, so you can kind of look at that and make sure that whatever you're eating, because there are some foods that'll be like 50% fat. Proteins are important. They're the polymers. They are what build up amino acids. And amino acids are important for building all sorts of things in your body. Enzymes, hormones, all sorts of things. Amino acids can also help supply energy, but I would say number one is more important because proteins are the building blocks of so many things in your body. Complete proteins, animal sources contain complete proteins, so all amino acids. It contains all the essential amino acids that we need. Plant sources typically are missing one or more, so they are incomplete. This is where, and I am not a vegetarian, I am not a vegan, but I am not anti that either. But this is where they need to really work at making sure they have enough protein, because plant sources don't have all of the same protein as animal sources are. Amino acids, these, if you remember in biology, the wheel of amino acids, these are pretty much the same thing. They're just on a table instead. Proteins are important, like I said. Control metabolism, very important, really, that you should have protein for breakfast. You know, some type of protein, even a glass of milk, because that protein really boosts your metabolism and gets your body going for the day. Clotting, carrots, you can read through all of these. Like I said, protein is very important for building a lot of things in your body. And second, they provide some energy. Deamination. So here are these amino acids. The amine is taken off of them. We talked a little bit about this with the liver part earlier. The resulting urea is excreted in urine, and urea is what gives urine the smell. Urea has a distinct odor to it. And then the deaminated acids that are left over can be used as energy. So urea is taken out of the amino acid, and that's what is a waste and is excreted through your urine. Protein requirements, here again it depends on, obviously larger, taller people have more requirements than a short, tiny person. Average adult, they recommend about 0.8 grams per kilogram. So overall, and this is 60 to 150, that's a pretty big range. Nursing women, pregnant women need more. Prenatal vitamins, once a woman finds out that she's pregnant, it's very important that you should take prenatal vitamins because they are specified specifically for those needs. And I will stop there to break it up.